Hello, my name is Matthew Osmond, and in this video I will be presenting and demonstrating some of the mechanics and blueprints that I used in my game, Markus's Mansion. So, first I'll show off the mechanics. This right here is the page pickup mechanic, the item collection mechanic, you could call it. And if we travel down here, we'll reach a blood boil. And this is the blood boil mechanic right here. We press Q to kick, it destroys the blood boil and adds 30 seconds to the timer. And then we can make our way this way. And in this room up here, we can see there's the artifact, and we can walk over to it and pick it up. And before I finish the artifact mechanic, I'm just going to go ahead in the master bedroom and pick up the door key. And then I'm going to come back over here, walk over to this pedestal, and place the artifact. And then we'll make our way to the front door, and we will finish the demonstration. Here we go. Now, to provide a little more in-depth of the mechanics, I'll first open the character blueprint, and we'll go to the event graph. Inside of the top-down character, we have a bunch of variables here, such as if the player has the artifact, how many pages the player has, how many artifacts the player has, references to all the different HUDs, a Boolean, whether the player has the key or does not have the key, etc., etc. And then there are three functions inside of the character blueprint. One is for collecting the artifact, one is for collecting the page, and one is for destroying a blood boil. These pretty much update the HUD, and they update how many of either pages the character has, or artifacts the character has, or blood boils that the character has destroyed. So we'll start with the artifact mechanic. So it goes on here. When the player overlaps with the artifact, they'll pick it up. It'll be added to their inventory. The collect artifact function inside of the character blueprint will run, and then we will change the Boolean inside of the player's blueprint of the player having the artifact to true. We'll play a sound, and then we'll destroy the actor. And then when we deposit the artifact, when the character overlaps with the deposit pedestal, we will see if the player has the artifact, and if that's true, what we will do is one time we'll set the visibility on the deposit, because as you can see, the artifact is not visible on the deposit pedestal. But what we do is, if the player has the artifact, we set the cone, we set the artifact's mesh to be visible. We also add 30 seconds to the countdown timer, and then we also add the place the artifact reference on our HUD as visible. And then we also set the artifact's placed variable inside of the character blueprint to 1. Next, we'll go over the door key. And again, pretty simple. When the character overlaps with the key's collision, we'll pick it up, we'll play a sound at the location, we'll destroy the actor, and then we also set the Boolean inside of the character blueprint to true. And with the door, the way the door functions is, first we check and we see if the character's Boolean value of having the key is true. And if it's true, then we will remove the normal HUD from our screen, and then we will play the uWin function inside of the character's blueprint, which also displays the uWin screen. And then next, this is the item collection mechanic. Simple picking up the page. When the character overlaps with the page's static mesh, or collision, sorry, we will pick it up. We will then play the collect page function inside of the character blueprint, play a sound, and then destroy the actor. And then for destroying the blood boil, I'll first start in the character blueprint. On the event graph for the character, we have an input action to kick the blood boil. It is bound to Q. When we press Q, we set the Boolean of is the key being pressed to true, and when we release, it gets set to false. The way it works inside of the blood boil is when the character overlaps with the blood boil. First, we want to see on the event tick if the player is overlapping the blood boil. This is set in the on component begin overlap and on component end overlap events. When the character overlaps with the sphere, it gets set to true, and when they end the overlap, it gets set to false. If the player is overlapping, we then want to check and see if the character or the player is pressing the Q key to destroy the blood boil. If it's true, we destroy the blood boil, play a sound, add 30 seconds to the countdown timer, and we play the destroy blood boil function inside of the character blueprint. And that's all for my mechanics. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your day.